I am Muskan, and today we will be covering our topic errors in hypothesis testing. So, in psychology, there are majorly two errors in hypothesis testing that we talk about, but there are more errors. So, I am going to begin by discussing type 1 error. So, we can look at this particular table. Wait, I'm changing the slide. Right. So we can look at this particular table. Yesterday we discussed about what null hypothesis is. Null hypothesis is basically the hypothesis of no significance, or the hypothesis which was basically disproving my study that I am trying to do. Right. So this particular table will help us understand how and where are we making the error. So, this is telling us about the reality. If the null hypothesis is actually true or it is actually false. And herein we are talking about the decision that we have taken while conducting our research. So, herein it is written that we have rejected our null hypothesis, and herein it is written that we have not rejected, which means we have accepted our null hypothesis. So if I look at this particular table, if my null hypothesis was true and I have rejected it, which means that the study that I was conducting was actually false, but I have said that no, it is true. Let us look at it by an example. So for example, there is a naughty kid in the colony who is making sounds of a wolf, and all of the people in that particular locality thought that the sound is of a wolf. So the null hypothesis was actually saying that that sound is actually not of a wolf, which means my null hypothesis was there is no wolf in the colony. But my alternate hypothesis is yes, there is a wolf in the colony, right? So in type 1 error, there was actually a child who was just making a noise, and we have still rejected our null hypothesis, which means we attributed a child who was making a wolf sound to that of a wolf. So herein there is a false positive, that there is actually no wolf which is there. There is actually no wolf, but still we have said that yes, there is a wolf in a colony. Now let us look at it by taking an example of a research problem. So for example, there is a researcher who is conducting the study of a effect of a particular medicine, type A medicine. For example, this is a hypothetical medicine, and I want to see its effect on treating depression. Now my study, I have made two hypotheses, null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. My null hypothesis is saying that there is no effect of the medicine on depression, and my alternate hypothesis is saying that yes, there is an effect, there is an positive effect. For example, null hypothesis could be directional, non-directional, any way that we want to frame it. So here I am saying that there is an effect of the type A medicine on depression, but these people who were depressive, or the sample who was there that I selected, was already going through a therapy, or they were already taking some other form of medication. Right. So herein maybe in my study it will showcase that there is an effect of depression, which means herein there was a false positive which was shown. In reality there was no effect of this particular medicine on the depressive episode of my sample, but still I have taken it as that yes, there was a effect. So herein we have made a false positive, and this is known as type 1 error in psychology or in research and statistics. So we have rejected a null hypothesis which was actually true. There was actually no effect, there was actually no wolf. Still, we have said that there is an effect. This type of error is known as alpha error or error of significance, which means that there was actually no significance of my study. The study was actually wrong. It needs to be disproved, but still I have said that there is an effect. Now, as we are calling it an error, obviously this is not a mistake which is done by the researcher like intentionally. It is unintentional, obviously, and the error can be because of any faulty sample that we have taken, or it could be because of any kind of extraneous or confounding variable which is there. There can be other causes, but the result or the consequence is that we will reject a null hypothesis which is actually true, which means there was actually no significant difference, but still we have said that there was a difference. Now let us look at type 2 error. So my type 2 error is saying that the null hypothesis was actually false. So let us take the wolf example again. My null hypothesis was actually false. My null hypothesis was saying that there is no wolf in the colony, but there was actually a wolf who was out there in the village. But my alternate hypothesis said that yes, there is a wolf. Still, due to whatever reason, the villagers or the investigators in the village said that no, there is no wolf. So obviously it is more harmful. So type 2 error, in not in this example but in reality also, type 2 error is more harmful than type 1 error. Both of these are wrong or they are not good for our study, but type 2 error is more harmful. So herein we can say that herein we have actually rejected a null hypothesis which was actually we have accepted a null hypothesis. We have not rejected a null hypothesis. We should have said that yes, there is a wolf, but still I said that no, there is no wolf in the colony, and I just accepted. I just said that no, there is no wolf, and I just went along with my by doing my task. So obviously the wolf would affect the village, right? So these were two types of error. So the second or type 2 error is also known as beta error, and this error is also known as error of power. And there was also this one example which students remember the type 1 and type 2 error a lot from. So we can say that there was a man and a doctor said that you are pregnant. So my null hypothesis and alternate same, I am making both of them. It was saying not pregnant and it was saying yes, you are pregnant. So herein the person or the doctor has made a false positive or a type 1 error wherein he told a man that you are pregnant. And in this particular study there was a female who was heavily pregnant, but still the doctor said that you are not pregnant. So this is false negative and this is false positive. Now there were two terms that we specifically talked about in these two errors. In type 1 error we talked about error of significance, and in type 1 error we talked about error of significance, and in type 2 error we talked about error of power. Let us go ahead by understanding these two terms first of all. Significance. Yesterday while discussing our hypothesis testing, we talked that we establish a particular level of significance, or we establish a particular p-value against which, or a critical value against which I will see if my study is correct or if my study is not correct. So in psychology generally we use 0.01, 0.05 or 0.001 level. These are most commonly used critical or significance level that we use. So I would establish a particular level of significance in my study. So herein in the 0.001 level, how much chance of error I am allowing my researcher to make? 1% error, and in 0.05, 5% error, in 0.01, 0.1% error, right? So it is said that I can avoid my type 1 error by increasing my level of significance, or by decreasing the chance of error that they are going to make. Now what did we do in the first example? That I made a false positive. I said that there is no wolf when there was actually no wolf, but I said yes, there was a wolf. If the investigators or the people of the village were more vigilant, or they did not make that much of an error, then obviously my study or my investigation for the wolf could have been done rightly. So in psychology, we avoid, or we lower the chances of type 1 error by increasing the level of significance, or by making my study much more precise, by not allowing my researcher to make a lot of mistakes. And my critical value, or my p-value, lies from a scale of 0 to 1. Analysis, we saw that the type 2 error is also known as the error of power. So in power analysis, what I am doing is I am establishing a power, or this is more related to the internal validity of our study, not the variable of our study, that how much my how rightly we have set up the procedure, my sample size is great, my significance level is. If you remember, if you have written certain sort of methodology for your research projects or your dissertation, you write all of the things: your objective, the sample that you have chosen, the tools that you have chosen, how much, we also decide the test statistic or the level of significance for our studies. So in the power analysis, we analyze the efficiency of our study. So by actually making sure that my study is effective, I am allowing my study, if the research team that was being sent, if they were much more effective, if they actually did their job nicely, then obviously I would be able to find a wolf in the village, and there would be no false negative, which means no type 2 error. So we do power analysis of a particular study in order to ensure that there is no false negative, because we discussed earlier this is more harmful. If there is a type 2 error, it is more harmful. So herein we determine our power by the size of the effect. What is the effect? We also discussed a NPC curve for both type of hypothesis, right? So if I am making a curve and I am recognizing the critical region here, and this was the effect. So if I am maintaining an appropriate size of effect which is required for my study. So now we are understanding type 2 error. So no effect when there was actually an effect, false negative. So in reality, if I see my null hypothesis was false, but I have still accepted that. I have said that there is no effect when actually my medicine was very good. So we reduce our chances of type 2 error by increasing the sample size, by setting up an appropriate level of effect size, or by lowering the level of significance, or lowering p-value basically. So that was it for our type 1 and type 2 error. Now let us understand this particular aspect, power. Now obviously if I am making an error in power, this is the formula of power. Basically, how do we calculate our power? So we deduct the chance of making type 2 error to calculate the power of the study. So yes, that was it. Thank you so much everyone for joining.